Hey there, all you beautiful Broadway babies! Welcome back to Broadway by Ghostlight. I'm Mark Bonanni, and this is episode 74 of Broadway Jeopardy. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button so you won't miss an episode. A bit about this week's game, not to trauma dump on all of you, but I've had a hell of a few weeks. Lots and lots of dental problems. I had yet another emergency root canal yesterday. I saw 2 different dentists. I am just a big ball of aches and pains today. But since I took off last week, I really didn't want to leave you guys in the lurch. So here I am. This won't be a short game like we had over the summer, but you will notice I don't talk quite as much this game. It's only to preserve what little energy I have and make sure I get an episode out to you guys this week. So forgive me if this game is a little shorter than normal, but enough talking. I've still got 26 all-new clues ready to test your musical-loving minds, so let's get right into this week's game. This is Broadway Jeopardy! Looking at the categories for this week, we start off, as always, with last game's final Jeopardy category, which is shows I haven't mentioned yet. As it sounds, I'm checking off some more musicals I've yet to feature in a clue from my long list. After that, we have the Neil Simon Theater. The Broadway house is celebrating its 98th birthday tomorrow, so this category will look at some shows that have opened at that theater. Also, really random, but I think fun fact, I did some writing yesterday on this episode between dental appointments at my wife's job, and so all of the Neil Simon Theater clues were actually written backstage at the Neil Simon Theater, which I didn't plan, but what an amazing coincidence, right? The next category we have is National Hello Day. Today, November 21st, is apparently National Hello Day, so we'll be looking at some shows and show tunes with hello in the title. Then we have Finish the Lyric, a returning category where you need to finish the lyrics to a Broadway musical phrase. And last but not least, we have When I Grow Up. This looks at some shows where a younger and older version of a character appear on stage together. And we end with the final Jeopardy round, so keep track of your scores so you can wager some or all of your imaginary earnings on that final clue. We start off, of course, with the $200 round, or the overture round as we call it here, where the questions lean towards the easier sides of things before I ramp up the difficulty level later in the game. Kicking things off in the shows I haven't mentioned category, your first $200 clue is this 1975 musical follow-up to You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown focused more on this lovable title dog. Who is Snoopy? Snoopy the musical, with a score by the team of Hal Hackety and Larry Grossman, first played San Francisco, California in 1975. It would later open off-Broadway in 1982 at the Lambs Theater, starring David Garrison in the title Pooch role. While it was certainly not as well received here in the States as much as its counterpart, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, Snoopy the musical fared much better in London, where it opened in 1983 and played almost 500 performances. Our first trip to the Neil Simon Theater brings us the $200 clue. This musical adaptation of the John Waters film of the same name, starring Harvey Fierstein and Marissa Jarrett Winokur, is the longest running show to play the Neil Simon Theater. What is Hairspray? The $200 clue in the National Hello Day category is in Into the Woods, Little Red Riding Hood encounters this character who sings the menacingly seductive Hello Little Girl. Who is the Wolf? Hello Little Girl is full of double entendres and sexual innuendo, so naturally, when Disney made the feature film version of Into the Woods in 2014, the song was lightened up as much as possible to appeal to a more family-friendly audience. This mostly came in the form of orchestrations, amazingly enough. The woodwinds, particularly flutes, were emphasized to give the song a lighter feel, and a walking bass line was added to make the song feel jazzier to sort of pull it out of creepy territory.
But slow little girl, hearken hush, the birds are singing sweetly.
Your first chance to finish the lyric comes now from the musical Sweet Charity with the $200 clue. The minute you walked in the joint, I could see you were a man of distinction, a blank, blank, blank. What is Real Big Spender?
The minute you walked in the joint, I could see you were a man of distinction, a real big spender.
And finishing up the overture round in the When I Grow Up category, your last $200 clue is young Simba goes from a cub to a full-grown lion during this number in The Lion King about having no worries for the rest of your days. What is Hakuna Matata? Has there ever been a more parodied song title ever, I think, in the world than Hakuna Matata? I hope you all Hakuna Matata that first round. See? Let's move on to the only slightly harder $400 round now. Circling back to shows I haven't mentioned, your first $400 clue is this 1978 musical, with music by Nancy Ford and book and lyrics by Gretchen Cryer, is titled I'm Getting My Act Together and Taking It Here. What is On the Road? Opening off-Broadway in 1978, I'm Getting My Act Together and Taking It on the Road was first produced by Joseph Papp as part of the New York Shakespeare Festival. The show starred its book writer and lyricist Gretchen Cryer as Heather, a 39-year-old divorcee attempting a comeback as a pop star. With its pop folk vibe and its honest feminist angle, the musical quickly built a devoted audience and ran for 1,165 performances. Replacing Miss Cryer during the show's long run included Betty Buckley, Phyllis Newman, Carol Hull, and the show's other creator, composer Nancy Ford. The $400 clue in the Neil Simon Theater category is this mega flop Sondheim musical, which is told backwards, played just 16 official performances at the Neil Simon Theater in 1981. What is Merrily We Roll Along? Well, Merrily flopped big time in 1981 and almost signaled the end of Stephen Sondheim's Broadway career. The incredible score would continue to generate new fans until a triumphant return to Broadway in 2024 became one of the biggest hits on Broadway. If you weren't able to catch that revival starring Lindsay Mendez, Jonathan Groff, and Daniel Radcliffe, fear not. A pro shot of that production is set to be released theatrically this December. According to the musical's producer Sonia Friedman, the pro shot won't be a traditional stage capture, and she considers it a film in its own right due to extensive post-production editing. We shall see. Grading the National Hello Day category again gives us the $400 clue. This beloved 1951 Rodgers and Hammerstein musical features the song Hello Young Lovers. What is The King and I? Oscar Hammerstein II, usually a fast-paced writer, had trouble with the song Hello Young Lovers during the musical's development. He wrote to the show's director, John Van Druten, that he'd been stuck on the piece for almost a month before finally moving on to other songs. He obviously finished the lyrics, which has come to be one of the best-loved show tunes of all time. Joshua Logan, a frequent Rodgers and Hammerstein collaborator, once remarked that Hello Young Lovers was, quote, the single greatest dramatic song I have ever heard in my life and probably ever will. The $400 chance to finish the lyric, this time from Seussical, is maybe I'm nasty, maybe I'm cruel, but you're the biggest blame fool in the blank, blank, blank. What is The Jungle of Newell? And the final $400 clue in the When I Grow Up category is young Peter Allen sings When I Get My Name in Lights while his adult counterpart watches, originally played by this superstar actor. Who is Hugh Jackman? In the original Broadway cast, playing young Peter was a young performer named Mitchell David Federin. And I remember when I saw the original production, I was blown away by this kid. For some reason, his short performance has always stuck with me, probably because I was super jealous I didn't get to play that role as a kid, though, you know, I'm nowhere nearly as talented as he was. Dancing right into the $600 round now. Back at shows I haven't mentioned, your $600 clue there is this musical, based on the anti-marijuana propaganda film of the same name, Originally starred Kristen Bell and Christian Campbell off-Broadway, as well as in the 2005 movie musical adaptation. What is Reefer Madness? The wild spoof musical started life in Los Angeles, California in 1998 before coming off-Broadway in 2001. The hilarious musical got a made-for-TV film adaptation in 2005 on Showtime. Going all the way back to 1935 in the Neil Simon Theater category now with the $600 clue. In DeBose Hayward and George and Ira Gershwin's Porgy and Bess, the character of Porgy proudly proclaims that he's got plenty o' this. What is Nuttin'? The famous song from the opera/musical comes in Act 2 and was written because George Gershwin felt that the lighter song was needed for the dreary second act of his opus. In a rare move, Gershwin actually wrote the music for that song first. Usually it was the other way around, with his lyricist, usually his brother Ira, writing the lyrics first and then fashioning the music after. The song has since been covered by a myriad of artists, including Ella Fitzgerald, Bing Crosby, Louis Armstrong, Frank Sinatra, and Pearl Bailey.
Got plenty of nothing, and nothing's plenty for me. I got my gal, I got my song, got him the whole day long. No use complaining.
Looking at an iconic title song in the National Hello Day category gives us the $600 clue. In the title song to Hello Dolly, the waiters say to Dolly, "You're still glowing, you're still crowing, you're still doing this." What is Going Strong? The $600 clue in the Finish the Lyric category, this time from the musical Newsies, is "Nobbin' with all the muckety mucks, I'm blowin' my dough and blank blank." What is Goin' Deluxe? I was 8 years old when Newsies the film came out, dating myself here, but as a young boy who liked musicals, I was pretty obsessed with Newsies, as you can imagine. And I liked the stage adaptation, but honestly, there were so many lyric changes that it kept taking me out of the show. You know what I mean? I'm assuming it's for either copyright reasons or maybe new score Tony eligibility reasons, but come on. If you're gonna do a show with existing songs, do the existing songs. That's why we're all there, right? Drove me nuts. Did anyone else have that reaction to Newsies or maybe other shows with lots of changed set lyrics?
Hey, that's my cigar.
You'll steal another. Hey, look, it's bath time at the zoo.
I thought that I'd surprise my mother.
If you can find her,
Let's go!
And over in the When I Grow Up category, your final $600 clue is, in Fun Home, older Allison remembers when her younger self first saw a butch delivery woman who was wearing this accessory. What is a Ring of Keys? Ring of Keys is certainly one of the standout songs from the show, performed to perfection by a then 10-year-old Sydney Lucas.
Your swagger and your bearing and the just right clothes you're wearing, your short hair and your dungarees and your lace-up boots and your keys. Oh, your ring of keys.
It's time to turn the heat up a notch or two with the $800 round now. But before we do, if you're enjoying this week's game, please take this second and hit that like button for me. It really helps with that almighty YouTube algorithm and getting these videos shown to more fine folks like yourselves, but also makes me feel like I've got my act together and am taking it on the road. Thanks everyone, I really, really do appreciate it. Okay, onward and upward. Checking another show I haven't mentioned off the proverbial list brings us the $800 clue. This American Idol winner and star of the film version of The Color Purple starred in the 2014 Broadway review After Midnight. Who is Fantasia Barrino? The review After Midnight started out at New York City Center, where it was titled then The Cotton Club Parade in 2011 with a return engagement in 2012. It opened on Broadway with its new title After Midnight in 2014, starring Miss Barrino, as well as Dule Hill and Adrienne Lennox. The review featured incredible dancing and sumptuous renditions of 1930s jazz standards, as well as searing poetry from author Langston Hughes.
After midnight, early blue evening, lights ain't come on yet. Coming on now.
The $800 clue in the Neil Simon Theater category is, according to the title of this 1951 musical, as well as the novel it's based on, you can find a tree growing in this New York borough. What is Brooklyn? Yeah, Brooklyn! A Tree Grows in Brooklyn opened on Broadway on April 19th, 1951. Though the musical faced a few different challenges in its creation, the biggest one was a particular casting decision. Playing the role of Aunt Sissy was Shirley Booth, a beloved actress hot off her Tony Award-winning performance in Come Back Little Sheba. The issue was that Aunt Sissy was a comic relief character and by no means a leading role, at least not by the original story standards. Because of Miss Booth's casting in the part, however, Sissy was expanded and expanded until it felt like a star vehicle, which critics and audiences felt derailed the central story of a father with an alcohol problem, a mother determined to survive, and young Francie, coming of age while dealing with poverty and her parents' crumbling marriage. Saying hello once more to the National Hello Day category gives us the $800 clue. This Michael John LaChiusa musical focuses on a series of love affairs among 10 characters during the 10 different decades of the 20th century. What is Hello Again? The adult musical Hello Again, based on the play La Ronde, opened off-Broadway at Lincoln Center in 1993, starring Donna Murphy, Carolee Carmello, Malcolm Getz, and John Cameron Mitchell, among others. There is a film version of the musical which was released in 2017 that had Audra McDonald, Martha Plimpton, and Cheyenne Jackson among its cast. Your $800 chance to finish the lyric now from Once Upon a Mattress is... The crowd went crazy and the house came down when Daddy wore his blank, blank, blank. What is Very Soft Shoes? Songs like Very Soft Shoes that really don't have anything to do with the plot usually drive me nuts when they stop the show cold of any plot momentum. But for some reason, I love Very Soft Shoes from Mattress.
That when he took his bow to the crowd and the crowd went crazy and the house came down when Daddy wore his very soft shoes.
And maturing into the When I Grow Up category brings us the $800 clue. Young Billy Elliot does a dream dance with his older self in a number from this famous ballet. What is Swan Lake? Specifically, Matthew Bourne's popular all-male version of Swan Lake. We've reached that point, my friends. The big show, the main event. It's the $1,000 round. Give me that dramatic music. Best of luck, players. Back one last time in the Shows I Haven't Mentioned category, your first $1,000 clue is... The 1966 off-Broadway musical Dames at Sea originally starred this Broadway icon before she hit the big time. Who is Bernadette Peters? The fun, lighthearted musical was a parody of 1930s Busby Berkeley-style movie musicals, in which a chorus girl right off the bus from the Midwest steps into a role on Broadway and becomes an overnight star. The musical was revived on Broadway in 2015, starring John Bolton, Eloise Kropp, Mara Davi, and Leslie Margarita. Taking our seats one last time at the Neil Simon Theater brings us the $1,000 clue. This surreal 1941 musical starring Gertrude Lawrence featured the songs My Ship, Tchaikovsky, and The Saga of Jenny. What is Lady in the Dark? A fascinating show that could be considered ahead of its time. Lady in the Dark is about Liza Elliott, an unhappy editor at a fashion magazine who decides to pursue psychotherapy. Though therapy is of course immensely common now, back in 1941 it was still a new and very much stigmatized practice. Besides the unorthodox subject matter, the very structure of the musical was a bit avant-garde. While in therapy, Eliza would have these elaborate dream sequences showing her inner thoughts, fantasies, and fears. It was only during these dream sequences that musical numbers occurred. During the regular dialogue scenes in the real world, no musical numbers would take place. Though there is a film version of Lady in the Dark from 1944, the musical is probably best remembered through another film, Star, from 1968. That film is about the life of Gertrude Lawrence, played in the biopic by Julie Andrews, and features a couple of snippets from Lady in the Dark, including a spectacular version of the saga of Jenny.
Jenny made her mind up at 22. To get herself a husband was the thing to do. So she got herself all dolled up in her satins and furs, and she got herself a husband, but he wasn't hers. Oh, Jenny, bright as a penny, her equal would be hard to find. Deserved a bed of roses, but history discloses that she would make up her mind.
Looking at an obvious choice in the National Hello Day category gives us the $1,000 clue. In the Book of Mormon, this is the first missionary to introduce himself in the opening number, Hello. Who is Elder Price? Elder Price was of course originated by Andrew Rannells back in 2011 when the Book of Mormon first opened. I actually own Andrew Rannells' Elder Price name tag. Here, I've got it here. It's framed. Hopefully the glare won't be too bad. See if I can bring it up. This is one of, if not the only, original Elder Price name tag from the musical. Pretty cool. Your last opportunity to finish the lyric for $1,000 now from the musical Barnum is... 'Cause there's a sure a shootin' sucker born a minute, and I'm referring to blank 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 blank. What is the minute you were born? I love that line.
Though I feed him bona fide baloney with no truth in it, why you can bet I'll find some room to buy my corn. 'Cause there's a sure a shootin' sucker born a minute, and I'm referring to the minute you was born. Aha!
And the curtain call clue in the When I Grow Up category is... Towards the end of the musical 9, Guido Contini and his younger self sing this duet about the various aspects of growing up. What is Getting Tall? And with that, we've reached the final Jeopardy round, players. Time to tally up those scores and decide how much you want to wager in the category The Leading Ladies. Next week will be a special episode highlighting the great new book, The Periodic Table of Broadway Musicals. The book's authors have generously offered to not only let me use their book and its wonderful art to create an entire episode, but they themselves will be popping in to read some of the clues as well. More on that next week, but here we're looking at some classic shows with female Broadway icons leading the company. Okay, has everyone made their wagers? Jason? Dustin? Alexandra? Okay. Here is your final clue. This legendary Broadway lady did not create the role of Annie Oakley in Annie Get Your Gun, but she did receive a special Tony for playing the role on the national tour in 1948. Who is Mary Martin? Mary Martin played the leading role of Annie Oakley in the first national tour of the musical from fall of 1948 until the summer of 1949. She was awarded the special Tony for, quote, spreading theater to the country while the originals perform in New York. And that's this week's game! How did you all do this week? Did you say hello to big winnings, or did you end up with plenty of nothing? Be sure to let me know in the comments. You know I love hearing from you guys and seeing your scores. If you want to help support Broadway Jeopardy and the channel, one incredible way is to be like these wonderful patrons over on my Patreon. You can click the link to the Patreon in my video description, and of course, just sharing these videos far and wide with anyone and everyone you can think of really helps grow the viewership as well. If you want to connect with me outside of YouTube, you can find me on Instagram or email me directly at broadwaybyghostlight@gmail.com. I'll be back next week, Thespis willing, with episode 75. Holy moly. But until then, I'm Mark Bonanni. This is Broadway by Ghostlight. Thanks for playing. I'm gonna go sleep for at least 10 hours now. And can I just say, take care of your teeth, everyone. Don't be like me.
Look, Seymour. This could happen to you.